In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use GitHub and Git with Rstudio. So before you start, you need to do a couple things. You first need to make sure that you have Git installed on your computer and that you have it set up in Rstudio. And there are instructions you can find online for doing that. So once that's set up, if you're starting a new or creating a new repository, the easiest way to do this is to first create an empty repository on GitHub. And you can do that by going to your repositories, click New, and then we can just call this repository test1. What it's called, test3. And it's a public repository. You want to initialize it without a README file, and don't change any of these other, don't add a license or git ignore, and then just create the repository. So you should now have a repository which is empty on your GitHub page. We're going to copy that URL for later. Then we can go to Rstudio, and we're going to just create a new project. So go to File, New Project. This takes a minute. And then if Git is set up on your computer, there should be an option here for version control and Git. If this doesn't show up here, it means that you need to go through and make sure that Git is properly configured to work with Rstudio. So on this screen, you're going to paste in that URL from the repository that we just created. So it's just github.com/ the name of your account / the name of the repository. And then you have to say what the repository name is going to be on your computer. So I'll leave it just as the name of the repository. And you have to specify where you want it on your computer. I'm going to put it in a folder that I call R projects on my computer. Oh, that already exists, so we're going to have to maybe just call it something else. So let's try that again. I'll test 3A, see if that works. Yep, okay. So if that is done correctly, you should now have a tab up here called Git in the upper right-hand corner that has an rproj file and a git ignore file. So let's just create a new file. So it's just an R script. We'll call it test. Or let's just say it's just a really simple script. Let's save it to our directory. So now we can see that the directory that we're in here has 3 files: a git ignore file, an rproj file, and a .r file. So with Git, you want to save your changes by doing something called committing here. So what you do is you go over here and you click on the files that have changed. You click the commit button. This basically saves the changes that you've made to your computer. Okay, so we're going to set this here, and we're just going to, you have to put it in a message. So we're just going to say that this is the initial commit. We click the commit button. And this is now saved the changes to our computer. This is locally that we have this information. We also want to push this up to GitHub. So we're going to push here. So click the up button, push. That's going to make that change onto GitHub. So if we go to GitHub, we refresh the page, we can now see those files that we added on here. Let's say that you are working with somebody else and they make a change to the file. So now they change this to having a mean of 10 on the thing. You can commit the changes on here. So now there's a change that's happened on GitHub that has not happened on your local machine. To get that change onto your local machine, now you have to pull the changes from GitHub. So you click this down button, and you can see it's made some changes, and now those changes are reflected on our computer. So let's say you have a stable version of the code that you're happy with, and you want to make some changes to it without messing up your main code. So to do this, we use something called branching. Um, so let's say that on our branch, we want to try to add some graphics to this code. So we're going to create a branch by clicking on this little button over here. We have to name the branch. So we'll just call it add graphics. We can click create. What's going to happen now is we've basically made a copy of the repository called add graphics. It's not going to change the main branch of the repository. So you can see we still have our main branch. And let's make a couple of changes here. So let's change the mean here. So we're going to change the mean to 50. Let's add a histogram. We need to add some variance to this too. Okay, so now we have a histogram of our distribution. We can save that file. As soon as we save it now, you can see that this file is showing up over here. So let's click on that and click commit. So it's going to show us now any changes that we've made here. You can see that it's made changes to that first line. We've also added some new code as well. So we have to add a commit message so we can say change mean and standard deviation and add histogram. And we can commit that. Again, that saves it locally. We're going to then push it to GitHub. So that puts it up on the web. And if we go to GitHub, we can see test 3. And if we click on our script, it still looks like our original script because we're on the main branch currently. If we switch though, go to add graphics, you can see now it's this version of the code. So if we've tested that and we're happy with it and we want to sort of bring this into the main trunk of the repository, we can do that by doing a pull request. So here it does it very easily for us. It says compare and pull request. We can also create a new pull request up here. And we'll click compare and pull request. And let's just look for a second at if we go back to the main trunk here. So if we click here, it says there are 2 branches. So there's the main branch. Then you can see that there's this other branch, add graphics, which has 1 commit that is on the add graphics that's not reflected on the main branch. So then let's go back and do our pull request. We can compare and pull. We're going to take our changes that we made on add graphics and we're going to put it onto main. We're going to create that pull request. We're able to merge automatically. Sometimes there's a conflict on the branch and it'll give you instructions on you have to go into the code and make changes manually to, it has trouble figuring out where the change is. So we confirm the merge. And this is now reflected on the main branch. And if we do a pull request now, so again, that just happened in the web. So we need to pull that down to our local machine. So we're going to pull. And now if we go over back to the main branch here by doing with this drop-down menu, now we can see that, oh, that hadn't pulled yet. Okay, so now if we are on the main branch, we open the script, now we can see the changes are reflected on the main branch. So that's basic version control. Sometimes though, it gets more complicated where, let's say there was a change made to your main branch and a change made to one of your sub branches, and you need to resolve those. So let's let's first make a change on add graph. So we'll go back to add graphics, and let's just, I don't know, add some additional stuff on here. Now we have 2 histograms we're showing. And we're going to commit this change that we just made. So adding our commit message, pushing that. And then let's also make a change on the main branch that's different. So if we go back to the main branch, let's say we're just going to add some comments. Okay. So this is a little bit more complicated now. So if we go back to our repository and we see our structure, now we can see that there are 3 changes. So there's been one change that's been made to the master, or sorry, one change that's been made to add graphics that's not on the master, and there have been also 2 changes on the master that haven't been made on the branch. So best practice here is to do this in 2 steps. So we go to a pull request, and we're going to create a new pull request. What we're going to actually do is we're going to take main, so our main branch, and we're going to merge it into add graphics. So we're going to take any changes that were made on the main branch and put it into add graphics, we're going to do that first. It's telling us that there's a conflict on the branch, on the merge, so we're going to fix that first. Let's see, resolve changes between the branches. I'm going to create that pull request. And it's telling us that it has conflicts. So we need to click resolve conflicts. And it's going to show us the 2 versions of the code, and we have to decide which one we want to keep. Or maybe we want to keep both of them. So in this case, we actually do want to keep both of them. So this piece came from main, and this piece came from the branch. And we actually, in this case, want to keep both of those things. So we're just going to delete these little modifiers that were added in by the program. And now we have a resolved script that has both the comment that we added and the new code that we put in. So we're going to mark that as resolved. We're going to commit the merge. And now we are feeling comfortable about this, so we can, well, we might want to create a new branch just to test things. We're going to merge this pull request. And then if we go back to GitHub and we pull everything, there's this new branch that we just created, which just has, it should have the resolved code on it. So this is clean now. And now we want to merge that back into master. So if we go back to GitHub, new pull request. And now we want to take test 3, which is or test 1, which is the thing we just created, put it back into master. We're going to create that pull request. This is now clean. We can merge it in, confirm, and it says we can delete the branch because we don't, that was just a temporary one. And then if we go back here and pull our changes that we just made, now you can see all the correct changes are made in the master branch. So this is our stable version of the code has now been updated. That's the basics of merging in GitHub.